Hello. What's
Hello.
going on, veterans? Hi there, Coach Priscilla.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. Welcome to this week's Facebook Live. Thank you all for joining us. I am Coach Rochelle Seabury, and I am here with the incredible Coach Priscilla. All right, so we're going to be tackling a topic a lot of you have been asking about. So thanks so much for joining us today. Now, before we dive into it, let's give folks a minute to hop on and get situated. Grab a pen and paper. You're going to want to take some notes. And while we wait, let's sound off in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, what branch and years you served. Shout out your coach if you already have one. And I'm live tuning in from London, England. Where are you tuning in from, Coach Priscilla?
I'm in Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware.
Very nice. Very nice. We'll give it a minute. I know it typically takes some time for people to join us. So before we start spewing out some good information here, we want to make sure no one misses any bit of it. Okay. But definitely put in the chat where you're tuning in from. We'd love to shout you guys out. All right. Seems like it's going a little slow in the chat there. All right.
Go.
There we go, Darius. Thanks. Darius Choice out in South Carolina.
And we have Catherine Gates Skipper, Marine Corps in Florida. Welcome in.
Love it. Love Florida. It's actually where I'm from. We've got someone from Illinois or Illinois.
I like it. We got Christopher in New York and Chris in Atlanta. Welcome in.
All right. Here's Manuel Salazar from Ohio, Army retired. Thank you for your service. Got San Antonio in the house, Mark, Navy.
Chris in Alabama and William in Kentucky. Welcome in.
Nice. We got Marcelo Luna, Illinois. Twisted Reality, Marine Corps. Thank you for your service.
I see Gail from New Jersey, Air Force.
Larry Cargill, Oklahoma Marine. Perfect. All right. It looks like people are getting in.
Yes, welcome in. All right. Coach Priscilla here. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Coach Priscilla, and it's an honor to be here with you today. Before we dive into today's discussion, let me share a little bit about myself. I am a veteran coach here at VA Claims Insider, and I served 8 years as active duty in the U.S. Army, primarily as CAD. But beyond my own service, I come from a family of service members. So these experiences have deeply influenced my commitment to supporting our veterans and their families. That's why I'm so excited to be here today, partnering with Coach Seabury to discuss the topics that really matter to our community. Now, without further ado, let me introduce you to my co-host, Coach Seabury.
Thank you, Coach Priscilla. I'm so excited to be hosting with you for the first time, actually. So thank you. Now, for those that don't already know me, I am Coach Rochelle Seabury. I've been with VACI for over 4 years now, and it's been such an amazing experience meeting and serving veterans and celebrating life change every single day. I am a proud Navy brat. My dad served 20 years in the Navy, and I'm also a military spouse with my husband still serving active in the Army. So this mission is personal to me. We truly have the privilege of doing something powerful every day with this amazing community. For all of you that served, thank you for your service, and thank you all for being a part of this community with us. So all the shout outs in the chat. Thank you all for joining us. Before we get started on the topic, if this is your first time joining us and you're wondering what we do and how we educate, How do we put together Facebook Lives and kind of how does this transition to kind of the VACI Elite program? We use something called the SEM method. So let's break down our SEM method. That stands for the strategy, education, and medical evidence. So let's start with strategy, right? Within 24 hours of joining, your elite coach will reach out and educate you by mapping out a personalized plan. You'll identify where you are now, where you want to be, and what gaps need to be closed. Then comes the education, and this is your superpower. Most veterans don't realize how much they don't know, especially with the VA constantly changing things, right? So the education piece is important. We level that playing field with live classes, on-demand content, and tools inside our insider portal. And finally, medical evidence wins claims, right? So period, whether it's getting care from your provider or working with our preferred provider network to get DBQs, nexus letters, or evaluations done, you'll have what you need to file a strong claim. So basically, we teach you to approach the VA like a chessboard, not a gamble. It's about knowing what medical evidence you need, how to document your symptoms, and how to advocate for yourself.
Yeah, you're right, Coach Seaberry. This isn't like a cookie cutter approach. We tailor your strategy based on you. So your service, your medical history, and your current symptoms. So if you're watching and thinking, this sounds like what I need, or if you still have some questions, right? If you want some more information, book a discovery call today. We'll see if you're a good fit and get you assigned a coach. So visit www.vaclaims.help. Or if you're ready to sign up, reach out and to our organization through vaclaimsinsider.com. Or if you want to sign up directly with Coach Seaberry or me, using our referral links below, we'd love to partner with you on your VA claims journey. So, all right, let's get into it. The VA is proposing some changes to how they rate tinnitus. If this is news to you, definitely listen up. All right, Coach Seaberry, can you tell us what exactly is the proposed VA changes for tinnitus?
All right. So currently, tinnitus is rated at 10% max, whether it's in one ear or both. That's 10%. That 10% might not seem like much, but it's one of the most common claims filed. So under the new proposal, tinnitus won't be rated as its own disability anymore. Instead, it'll be treated as a symptom and only compensable if it's tied to another service-connected condition. That means no more standalone 10% for tinnitus. So, for example, if a veteran has hearing loss rated at 0% and it's recognized as service-connected, but not severe enough to warrant compensation, and tinnitus is diagnosed as linked to this hearing loss, a 10% VA disability rating can be awarded for tinnitus because it's not standalone, it's with the hearing loss. However, if the hearing loss itself is compensable, i.e., it's rated 10% or higher, no additional 10% rating will be granted for tinnitus. Okay, so instead, the veteran's overall rating will be determined based on the severity of the hearing loss alone, using the standard hearing loss tables. Additionally, tinnitus diagnosed in association with other service-connected conditions, such as like Meniere's disease or a traumatic brain injury or certain vascular and neurocognitive disorders, will not receive a separate 10% rating under the DC 6100. Instead, tinnitus will be evaluated as part of these underlying conditions without a distinct tinnitus rating. So tinnitus will only be compensated if it is a part of an underlying service-connected condition. This means the VA will no longer provide standalone rating for tinnitus. It must be tied directly to another recognized condition.
Wow. Yeah, this proposed change could really make it harder for veterans to receive the compensation for tinnitus, especially when it's like their only or primary condition they're dealing with. Now, remember, this is just a proposal. One of the frequently asked questions that I'm sure we could probably find in the chat would be, when is this change going to happen, right? The exact date for implementing the proposed tinnitus rating changes remains uncertain. However, After the VA finalizes these changes, there will be a 60-day cooling off period before it officially takes into effect. So what does that mean for you guys? Act now, right? If you're planning to file a VA claim for tinnitus, it's so crucial to do so as soon as possible. You want to ensure that your claim is processed under this current and definitely more favorable ruling.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, people are probably asking, why is the VA changing how it rates tinnitus?
Okay. Yeah. So that's a good question, right? It's like, why are we changing it when, it's been the way that it is? So the VA explains that the proposed changes are intended to better reflect current medical understanding and practice. So current medical research indicates that tinnitus likely results from abnormal neural activity somewhere in the auditory pathway, which the brain incorrectly interprets as sound, right? So as a result, tinnitus is generally a symptom associated with an underlying condition such as hearing loss, Meniere's, TBI, rather than an independent disease. And then according to the Mayo Clinic, tinnitus is usually caused by an underlying condition such as age-related hearing loss, an ear injury, or a problem with the circulatory system. For many people, tinnitus improves with treatment of the underlying cause or with other treatments that reduce or mask the noise, making tinnitus less noticeable. So previously, VA regulations may have inadvertently suggested that tinnitus is an independent condition rather than a symptom connected to other health issues. So the VA's proposed revisions aim to correct this by kind of emphasizing the medically supported view that tinnitus is generally a symptom of an underlying condition, thereby aligning the rating criteria with modern medical practices. All right, so hopefully that kind of clarifies their why. But for those joining us that are already rated for tinnitus, I think I saw a question in the chat that came up. They might be asking, will the new tinnitus ratings impact my current VA rating? Coach Priscilla, can you kind of touch on that?
Yeah, definitely. It's a great question. So, your existing service-connected disability rating for tinnitus at 10% under the DC 6260 will not be affected by the VA proposed changes to the tinnitus rating criteria. If you have already that rating for tinnitus, you'll be grandfathered in under the current system. So, meaning your existing rating will remain intact and you'll continue to receive your benefits as before. The grandfathering in process is a protective measure designed to ensure that veterans who already have been awarded that disability rating aren't negatively impacted by changes in VA policy or rating criteria. So this provides that stability and predictability for veterans with, established ratings. Although new claims and requests for increased ratings might be evaluated under the new criteria, your established rating will be preserved. So no worries there. The proposed changes would primarily affect future claims and those seeking new evaluations. So while these adjustments may change how the new claims are processed, your existing benefits under the old system are completely secure. And those who are already rated are probably wondering if they can still file for secondary claims to tinnitus.
Good question. Another really great question, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not just about, okay, I've got the tinnitus rating. There are other conditions stemming from this tinnitus. So absolutely, you can still file secondary claims related to tinnitus, even with the proposed changes to the VA's rating criteria. Secondary claims involve conditions that are either caused or aggravated by an existing service-connected condition like tinnitus. So if you have other health issues that you believe are linked to your service-connected tinnitus, you can still seek additional VA disability compensation for those conditions. Even if the proposed changes remove the standalone rating for tinnitus, your ability to file secondary claims remain intact, provided you are already service connected for tinnitus at 10%. Okay. Now, to strengthen your claim, it's crucial to provide compelling medical evidence, including a nexus letter from a healthcare provider, clearly establishing the link between your tinnitus and any secondary conditions.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's quickly recap today's topic. I know it's a lot of information. So the VA is proposing changes that would eliminate tinnitus as a standalone rated condition. That means you'd only be able to be compensated for tinnitus if it is directly tied to another service-connected condition, like hearing loss, TBI, Meniere's disease, etc. If you are already rated for tinnitus at 10%, you're grandfathered in. Your rating's going to stay protected. But if you haven't filed yet and tinnitus is your only claim, it's so critical for you to act before these changes go into effect. So bottom line is, don't wait. The rules are more favorable now, and the time to take action is now. All right,
That's
guys,
right.
let's open the comments up. Let's see what questions are coming in. We'll answer a few live, so definitely drop them below.
All right, all right. So I do see some questions were coming in that we answered, right? Because we definitely addressed some really good and important, like we knew we're going to come up with these proposals, but keep in mind this is still just a proposal. So like Coach Priscilla said, now is the time to act. Let's pull up Phil Pagan's question. He said, if I currently have an intent to file, will I fall under the new changes if they take effect? So it's about being already grandfathered in if you're already rated for the tinnitus, right? It's not going to consider when the claim was submitted or the intent to file for the condition or for the claim, right? Grandfathered in, meaning that you're already rated for the tinnitus before it goes into effect. But like Coach Priscilla mentioned earlier, there is a 60-day grace period window that will give you the opportunity once the change goes into effect of being evaluated under the old criteria before the proposal.
Great question.
Okay.
Yeah. I have Brian Wolf here. He said, I have 10% disability for hearing loss, but I have awful tinnitus. Can I add that on to my disability? So as of right now, you would still be able to get that rating for tinnitus at 10%. But again, it's all about getting that claim submitted immediately with the proper medical evidence so that you can be able to get that rating, right? Once this change goes into effect, the answer will be no.
Good question. So act now. If you don't have a coach already, get with a coach and figure out how that can be filed to the VA. All right. Let's see. All right. So I think Lazardria Fascio, she says, is the VA saying that loud noise no longer will cause tinnitus? My tinnitus started after 2 years in the Navy because of very noisy environment. So keep in mind what the VA's proposal, the reason why they're making that change is because of what, has been medically supported. We understand if onset of the tinnitus started in the military, then that means the tinnitus started in the military, and that's how you should file that claim. But when it comes to kind of what you're stating, it started after 2 years in the military, then yours is probably onset is after the military, right? So if you're not with a coach yet, definitely speak with one about how, based on your details of your onset of your tinnitus, how that, would work for service connection. But the VA's proposal is because they're basically saying research says that tinnitus is usually caused, and the key word there is usually. So they're creating that change with how they're reviewing those type claims. What else do we have here?
Yeah, and I see Cecilia Rambert. Now I have tinnitus. Years ago, they denied me. Should I refile? So you could refile. You definitely want to get with a coach to see if you have the medical evidence or if you qualify for the rating to see, or even to see, why did they deny you, right? So definitely, that would be a great individual question.
Yeah. Let's pull Angry Joe Gaming. He said, I have heard that vertigo can be caused by severe tinnitus. Do you have any info on that? So that is going to require a medical opinion. and kind of review of your medical evidence. If you've got kind of the fulfillment of the Kaluza triangle for service connection, if you've got the diagnosis for vertigo, if your link to aggravation or cause is your tinnitus, then you need number 3, which is that medical nexus opinion, a medical nexus linking your vertigo to the tinnitus as your nexus. If you don't have a coach, or if you don't have a provider, a medical provider that can write you that nexus, speak with your coach about a referral potentially to Telemedica for a nexus letter.
Yeah, great question. I see it's just dad. He said, since I'd be grandfather conditions secondary to tinnitus can still be considered such as anxiety, correct? And you're correct, yes. So you're grandfathered in, so you can still go for those secondaries that were caused by that tinnitus. You'll of course need that medical evidence to cover you, but that's where, you know, you and your coach could come up with a game plan to see what that strategy would look like. Great question.
All right. There's Kevin Cronin. He said, when is the change likely to go into effect? So it's uncertain, right? There is no anticipated date or anything as to when that can happen, which is why we're encouraging just kind of as soon as you have what you need to file your disability claim for service connection, definitely do so before the proposal goes into effect. And just to kind of go back to the question earlier, when the VA makes changes to ratings, if the claim is filed prior to the effective date, it will be grandfathered under the old rules as long as it is beneficial to the veteran. All right. So that's kind of how, whether you do it now or you've got that intent to file, that effective date is taken into consideration. But there are many factors into what is determined as your effective date, not just your intent to file.
Yeah, and I have a great question from Brian Wolf. Again, how do I get a coach, right? How do I sign up? And again, you know, you can go to the vaclaimsinsider.com website to get signed up. Or if you prefer to work with Coach Rochelle or myself, definitely, you know, check out our links to get signed up with us directly. But yeah, we would love to work with you guys. That's why we do what we do, right? We love being able to coach and educate veterans through the process.
That's right. Happy to have you. All right. Is it Jamie or Jaime Martinez? How about sleep apnea? Can I get any percentage? So again, Mr. Martinez, you need to fulfill that Kaluza triangle, right? You have to have that diagnosis. You have to have that link to military service, whether it's primary because you were diagnosed in the military, or whether it's secondary to an already service-connected condition. And then you need that medical opinion, Lincoln 1 and 2, right? But sleep apnea is definitely a claim condition that is a high-value claim even. So definitely speak with a coach about what your pathway would look like.
Awesome. So I see Buddy Hit. What are the secondary claims for tinnitus? And that's a pretty broad question, right? Because it's going to look different for everyone. The best way I could put it is think about how your tinnitus is impacting your life. Is it leading to other issues? And so those may be potential secondary claims. Coach Seabury, want to add anything to that?
So there's a VACI blog that we have. If you type into vaclaimsinsider.com/blog, and I'm sure one of our team members in the background will probably plug that in, of secondary claims for tinnitus.
Awesome.
Okay, let's see. I'm trying to figure out which ones haven't already been answered. There's a lot of really great questions in the chat. Did we answer Brian Wolf's question already? I have a 10% disability or hearing loss. I think so, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I wanted to go back to see if we missed anything. Richard Lopez, I have a CNP for tinnitus coming up next week. What should I expect in that exam? Also, my coach stated that I do not need a nexus for tinnitus. Can you confirm? Thank you. Okay. So, it's likely, like you said, it's an audiology exam, right? So, I've heard multiple feedbacks on how CNP examiners conduct those. So I've heard them getting into the hearing booths, right? So that just press the button when you hear the beep, not when you think you hear the beep. And then, of course, a question of service connection is going to be, when did this begin, right? So be prepared to be able to articulate how and when it started. If there was a specific incident that happened in the military, when you identified the onset of the ringing in your ears, the best way to do it is paint the picture, right? Because what you don't share with the examiner, there's just no way that they'll know kind of how it started for you. And the nexus essentially is going to be your military noise exposure, or that incident that happened in the military that caused the tinnitus or aggravated the tinnitus. All right, but good luck to you at that exam. There is a YouTube video on audiology exam, CNP exams. So if you go to our YouTube page and just type in tinnitus, you'll in the search, you'll see that video. Very helpful. Okay. What else do we got? What is the change? Sorry, I'm late. Okay, go ahead, Priscilla. Run through the whole presentation again.
You're going to have to watch the playback.
This video will be posted, but essentially, Trips, tinnitus is no longer going to be a standalone 10% for tinnitus once the change goes into effect. It'll be a rating symptom of another condition, service-connected condition.
Great question. Great question.
Let's see. What else? Did you see anything else in there?
Yeah, I'm trying not to repeat a question, so I'm trying to, be mindful.
Yeah.
I think we've covered.
Okay, so did you read Larry Daniels? Have you seen that one? I am service connected for TMJ. I have a diagnosis of vertigo related to my TMJ. Should I file for vertigo now? ? So this isn't affected by the tinnitus proposal. If you have all the supportive evidence that you need for service connection, and again, I'm going to bring up the Kaluza triangle. If you've got the diagnosis for vertigo, which you said you do, and you're service connected for TMJ that you're looking to claim vertigo secondary to, sounds like what you're missing on the Kaluza triangle is a medical nexus. If you've got the medical nexus, then you've fulfilled the Kaluza triangle and can submit your claim. Otherwise, if you don't have a nexus, definitely get a nexus so that you are submitting a fully developed claim for service connection. If you don't have access to a medical provider that can write you a nexus, if you're part of VACI's elite program, speak with your coach and about your options like Telemedica. And if you're not yet with a coach, get signed up. You have access to our preferred provider network. Okay. And we kind of ran through these questions, it looks like. So Steve said, Steve Van Slick, I have received a 10% rating for hearing loss and tinnitus with no increase in compensation. I feel like they should have allowed at least increase to the next level, if only 10%. So if you received a decision letter and feel like you were underrated, or if in some sort, because it's kind of too vague for us to be able to really understand kind of like how to address that question. But your decision letter, when you were awarded those ratings, will explain kind of why you did not warrant that higher rating. And so that's something that as coaches, Coach Priscilla and I, whenever we have a vet that submits a claim and gets a decision back, it's not just about, okay, was the veteran service connected? Did they get a rating? It's, were they given the rating that they deserve based on the medical evidence and the support? So that is something that if you have a coach, upload that decision letter for them to look at to see if an appeal is warranted, or maybe it's just about submitting more supportive evidence that will support that higher rating for you.
Great point. Yeah. I see Oni Ernest. I am 10% for tinnitus and now suffering with migraines. Should I file for migraines? And it's going to go back to what Coach Seabury said about that collusive triangle, right? You want to make sure you're covering that collusive triangle. Do you have that nexus to link the two? Then, you should be good to go. But always go back to those three things: current diagnosis, and then that service connection.
Yeah, but that one's definitely a good one if it's a trigger of yours, right? So speak with your doctor about what you're experiencing and how your tinnitus is triggering your migraines. Make sure you're speaking on the severity of those migraines, the frequency of them, and then the duration of them and how it impacts your life. All right, here, Bill Mackey. He said, I just got a 10% rating on my right ankle. I also applied for the left and it says deferred. Does that mean they're still looking at the left, or is it done? Bill, deferred means they're still looking at it. All right. So you should see on va.gov that claim is still open. It should still be open on va.gov because they're still either gathering evidence, putting together a medical opinion, whether you're going to require another C&P exam or not. And then hopefully not long before you get a decision. Okay, good question. What else? We already answered that one.
Yeah, I'm getting some repeats too.
Okay. All right, so Larry. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, all great questions. If you guys are interested in signing up for the program, of course, sign up at that vaclaimsinsider.com. And then we also will provide the link if you want to work with Coach Rochelle individually or myself. But yeah, reach out, speak with someone, get on a discovery call so you can see, if this is something that can really educate you through the process.
All right, I see a question from Larry Daniels, found you. It says, I am 90% and at the 18-year mark. Should I file for an increase or wait till 20 years? I am not currently scheduled for tinnitus, but I do have a diagnosis. I am in one of the highly likely MOSs. So as far as waiting, don't know what we're waiting for, but if you're 90% and you feel like you warrant an increase to 100, just depending on what your VA math is, and if you've got specific conditions that you're eligible in filing for, then especially for a condition like tinnitus, where the proposed change is going to actually make it more difficult to be rated, right? I wouldn't wait, because once that proposal passes, then it will be a bit harder. As far as how your specific tinnitus would be connected, highly likely MOSs isn't necessarily a definite link, because tinnitus isn't a presumptive condition. They just have the likeliness, whether it's highly likely, moderate likely, or less likely due to your MOS. What's going to be most important is being able to identify the onset of your tinnitus if it was in service. So, Larry, you sound like 90 to 100 if that's something that you're eligible for. If you're not yet with a coach, get signed up, right? What do you have to lose? If you're not quite sure yet, maybe just try out a discovery call to see if this is something that works for you, because I'd hate for it to say wait and then you should have filed a claim that now is more difficult to get rated for.
Definitely.
All right. So Rosie, did you see Rosie? Is it Games? She asked, do you recommend we go through our own primary care physician or telemedica? All right. So I guess it just depends, right? So your primary care physician is your treating physician who is treating the condition that you're potentially trying to get linked to military service. If they're familiar with, I guess, the nexus piece, because that's what, or evaluating your condition, or if they're willing to do that, right? Because a lot of providers don't quite know what a nexus letter is, and some of them are not willing to complete some of the VA forms. So if your primary care physician is willing, then great, use them. Telemedica is just an option for you in the case that your doctor is not willing or able to complete what you need to submit to the VA. Okay.
Great question, definitely.
What about Reginald Moore? How long does it take for VES examination is sent to the VA? You want to answer that question as far as like how long?
Yeah, for sure. So for those who don't know, VES is one of the contractors that the VA will hire to do your CMP exam, so your compensation and pension exam. This is, after you submitted your claim, this is how the VA evaluates you to make sure that you indeed have the condition and really decide what the condition looks like, to say the least. So how long does it take? I believe they have 24 to 48 hours to have the documentation back to the VA. Is that correct, Coach Rochelle?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can expect that. But remember, they're not the ones making a decision. They're evaluating you. So it still has to go through the process with a VA rater. And that could take several weeks, several months. There's no way for you to really know to get that decision.
There we go. So this one isn't a question, but it is a nice comment, maybe like a testimony, right? For any new viewers out there. So Tim Albrecht said, I'm a skeptic and I saw VA Claims Insider a long time ago and never reached out. One day I was talking to my younger sister and she told me that I should try it and call Coach Stacy, who is a personal friend of hers and her husband's. Otherwise, I would have never called. That would have really been bad for me. Coach Stacy's no longer a coach. He has moved up. However, he got me started and I was able to go from 40% that I had for 12 years trying to get it raised. And I went up to 100% in a little.
Awesome. I love to hear those stories. That just warms my heart. It really reminds us, why we do what we do, but also knowing that the veterans are being taken care of in that capacity is just a beautiful thing.
It's great. It's nice to have just people that take care of our veterans, right? Here's another testimony. Do you want to read that one by Raymond?
Yeah, I see Raymond Davis here. I can vouch that VACI is top-notch veterans claim organization. They helped me negotiate the claims process to obtain my 100% PNT. The whole organization, led by Brian Rees, will work with you every step of the way to get you the rating you deserve. Just contact VACI and follow their instructions, and you'll be astonished by or with their services. Just go for it, my fellow veterans, and be blessed. Oh, that's a good one. Yes,
love
I
it.
love to hear
Congratulations on your
Yes.
100% PNT.
For sure, for sure. It's not an easy process. So having the education to understand the process is a game changer, right? Having that coaching through the strategy and through your game plan, it really provides that confidence going through the process.
Kevin Cronin asked, will a recording of this session be available? So yeah, typically within 24 hours, it will be posted to the Facebook page and then uploaded to our YouTube channel. So yes. All right, well, let's see. Any other good news stories? I love those, especially on a Wednesday. Yes, I wouldn't have my current rating of 70% if it weren't for BACI. Rosie Games, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing, Rosie, and congratulations to you.
And I see Lazidrea Basio, what is VES? That's going to be the Veteran Evaluation Services that it's a contractor, right? They're a medical contractor that are hired by the VA to evaluate your condition for that CMP exam. So after you submit the claim, the next step will be that CMP exam from the VA.
I think a big thing here, guys, is there are a lot of questions in regards to like, can I file this? Can I file that? The great thing about VA Claims Insiders is you get assigned someone who will be able to review with you any gaps in your records, whether that is the path that works best for you for an increase, as well as, other specific conditions that you might not even be thinking about that you're eligible for, right? So if the matter is what is going to be the great strategy, having someone along your side from beginning to end, and it's a team, right? It's your veteran coach, it's your elite program coordinator, and it's being able to access our live and on-demand classes to get some of your questions answered. Like this is calming and a very daunting process, because this can be pretty confusing, especially the waiting things out, right? So get signed up today if you are having such questions regarding strategy, because that's exactly what, we kind of focus on, the strategy, education, and medical evidence for service connection. But I think if we didn't get to your question, I'm not sure. We tried to kind of filter through and look and see if we caught everything with all of the chat going in. Sometimes, something gets missed. So the good thing is, if we didn't get to your question, don't worry. One of our amazing coaches or team members usually circle back and filters through and answers questions in the chat. So definitely come back to it. Let's see. I think there's another testimony in here that popped up.
Yeah, I see Linda Polk. I also have a testimony. My husband has been at 40% for over 10 years. He joined VA Claims Insider, and the coach helped him get to 100% permanent disability. He filed his claim on a Tuesday and got the 100% on Thursday of the same week, which we never heard of, which I also don't see that very frequently. So that is amazing to hear. Congratulations. That's really great.
Congratulations to you and your family. Definitely. Catherine Gates Skipper, she said, and it was IBS C&P via phone call instead of in person. My question is, what percentage can you get for IBS? So the VA's rating criteria for IBS is either 10% or 30%, and that's just based on frequency and severity of symptoms. If you get a chance, go to VA Claims Insider's blog page. I can, kind of lead you to the 38 CFR, but for a nice, simple reading, I'm going to refer you to VA Claims Insider's blog page. And if we can get that blog of the VA's rating criteria for IBS dropped in the chat for Catherine, that would be amazing, as you're trying to anticipate what rating he's entitled to. Okay, yes. Did we answer Cecil's? Probably not. Can I claim for IBS and GERD secondary to mental health? I'm 70% service connected for mental health, and I have been treated for GERD, but not IBS. So if you have a diagnosis, if you don't have a diagnosis and you don't have any treatment for IBS, to answer your first question, can I claim? You want to make sure that you're filing a claim for a condition you're diagnosed and treated for, right? Because that's a big part of the service connection piece. If you feel like you have it, talk to your doctor about it. That way, if you are diagnosed with it, you're able to add it to your claim strategy. But can GERD and IBS just in general be linked secondary to mental health? I've seen it. It does require a medical opinion, a medical nexus, to link it to the mental health. So get with a coach to see if that's a good path for you. Okay. C. Webb said, I need help finding a doctor in Maryland, Virginia, or DC that assists with the VA's DBQ spine form. My legal doctor has no clue how to conduct or fill out that form. Any suggestions? So specifically for the spine, even if you tried to utilize telemedica, there are certain conditions that telemedica can't help with because they require in-person evaluations. So that would simply be our preferred provider network that we would get veterans referred to. However, there are specific conditions that they cannot help with because of the in-person.
And then I have Bradley here. Bradley aging. I came in late on this discussion, sorry, but how can I sign up for or with a coach? You all are the best. Again, you can head over to that vaclaimsinsider.com website, get signed up, or if you want to work with Coach Rochelle or myself, you can always use the links that are provided in the comments to get signed up as well. But yeah, we love to work with you. Hop on a discovery call, ask those questions that might be lingering so you can see, is this a right fit for you?
Yes. When you sign up for a discovery call, or like how to sign up, it's www.vaclaims.help. And it's so that you can talk to a veteran ambassador, right? So it's one of our team members that are really great at answering some of your kind of questions, right? Like anything holding you back, anything keeping you from signing up or taking the chance. It's no risk to sign up for a phone call to ask those questions one-on-one to see if the elite program is a good fit for you. And I know, kind of hearing Coach Priscilla and I say it over and over again, it's because some of these questions, if we just blanketly say, yes, you can file for that, it's not that simple, right? Because this is not a one-size-fits-all process. There is no streamlined approach. So oh, sorry. The link has changed. Sorry. It's learn.vaclaimsinsider.com. Sorry.
There you go.
So learn.vaclaimsinsider.com. That's how you'll sign up for the discovery call. And if you're ready to join, it's www.vaclaimsinsider.com. And Coach Priscilla and I would be happy to work with you. All right. Doesn't look like we have much more questions in the chat other than hellos. Hey, Jay. Jay said, hi, Coach. Adrian Williams, why is the VA giving me a hard time? Been to 6 CNP exams. I'm so sorry, Adrian. There's a number of different reasons why a veteran would be scheduled multiple times for a CNP exam. Not necessarily good, not necessarily bad either, right? I think sometimes the VA will send it back to the examiner because maybe the way that they filled out the DBQ, whether it was too vague, whether they left the question blank, or they didn't check a box. There's a number of different reasons why. And so the good thing is they're looking at your claim. If we're trying to see a positive, they're looking at
being
your claim.
thorough.
They're being thorough. So good luck to you. Hopefully you get a favorable decision.
And Adrian, I know it's frustrating. I actually had a similar experience for one of my claims a few years ago. So it happens, right? Just keep showing up. What you don't want to do is not show up, right? Then that's probably where you're gonna run into some issues.
Yeah. I think Brad Bolts is asking if he can see a family doctor instead of primary care at the VA. The only doctor that he's seen for the past 4 years is at the VA. So that's actually a common question that I get all the time. Do I have to work with the VA if I'm filing a VA disability claim? Think about it like this, Brad. Some veterans don't have access to a VA hospital, right? So in order for them to be able to file claims, they do have to go to a doctor. So primary, a family doctor, as long as they are licensed or their credentials meet the criteria for diagnosis and treatment that you're looking to submit, is there, then yeah, you can use them. The difference is the VA doesn't have access to those records. So when it is time to submit your claim, you need to submit all of the supportive medical evidence with your claim so that they have it. Good question. Johnny Causey said, explain about filing for diabetes. Very hard to answer that, Johnny. So like we've been kind of educating on the Kaluza triangle is how you would file diabetes or any claim, right? Got to have a diagnosis in order to file a claim for diabetes or any condition. You have to have a way to link diabetes to military service, whether it is due to in-service exposure, right, which diabetes does fall under. If you meet the criteria for the in-service exposure and presumptive nature of it, then you have that. If not, it's a secondary condition, then as long as that secondary condition or that primary condition that you're filing it secondary to is already service connected, then you can do that. And then number 3, you need a medical opinion linking that diabetes is caused or aggravated by that, right? You can't just say it is without the support of a medical opinion saying that it is. Okay. Oh, he put that question in a few times. Sorry, we're just now getting to it, Johnny. He's like, answer this question. I already have tinnitus at 10%. Is there any way to get it increased? Stephen Rutin. So tinnitus maxes out at the 10%. However, if you feel like your tinnitus is getting worse, you can consider potentially secondary conditions that your tinnitus is causing. All right. And that's how you get an increase. Is what are some potential secondary conditions that your tinnitus is causing that you can file for if you put together a fully developed claim. All right. What is that web address again? Julio, which web address? Are we talking about how to sign up? Are you asking for Priscilla's sign up link? Are you asking for the discovery call link? We'll put them all up. There's the Connect with Coach Priscilla today, if that's the link you're looking for. There's mine, if that's what you're looking for. And the discovery call link. It's learn.vaclaimsinsider.com. I feel like that's what he's really looking for.
Yeah. No worries. He got them all now.
All right. Well, I mean, we are at about 5 minutes till the top of the hour. I think we put out some really good information and then some questions unrelated. I think a big takeaway here is stay tuned, stay engaged, right? This proposal on tinnitus, when you guys saw the VA has this proposal out there, it's important to stay up to date because knowing when things are changing, that creating some urgency on not waiting, another year or another couple years to file a claim that you deserve, that you're eligible for. These changes are constantly happening. There's no time frame on it, right? And we don't know. The great thing about VA Claims Insiders, if you subscribe to our Facebook page or blog page or YouTube channel, we will always put out the information that will keep insiders, right? In the loop and up to date with new changes that the VA is always passing. So thank you all for joining us today. If it's to a point where you're ready to sign up, don't wait any longer, right? If it's a matter of just seeing if this program is the right fit for you, take that no risk leap of faith, sign up for a discovery call. Also, quick plug here, Brian's new book, VA Claims Secrets, is out on Amazon. So definitely check that out for more insights as well. It's really good at putting out some good light reading and information that's absolutely necessary for our veterans who served. So thank you, Brian, for that.
Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Take care, stay empowered. We'll see you next week. Definitely join us again. As we wrap up, I just want to say bye to everyone. Bye to Coach Seabury. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the virtual halls.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was great hosting with you today, Coach Priscilla. Who would have known it was your first time? So happy to have you a part of the VACI team, and everyone else. Take good care. Have a great rest of your day, and see you guys next time.
For sure.
Bye.